Wrestling show, wrestling channel, boom, boom. Here we go. We're back with another video. And in recent weeks, I have given Vince Russo some crap here on this channel. Vince is a very sensitive guy, oversensitive guy. Everybody will tell you that if they know him. And he's no longer responding to me. He's no longer speaking to me. Has ignored my last two emails, even though I said something positive about him on the last show. And I'm going to say something positive about him again. Well, I don't think I was overly negative in the first place. When it came to talking about Russo as a person, I just said that he's reaching a point where he will damage his audience by not being able to remain balanced. Always spoke highly about him as a person, still do. Always been incredible with my son. He has given him a gift that we've had framed that we'll cherish forever. I'll always look at that and I'll always remember how much I love Vince Russo. And on this episode, I want to kind of talk about something that Russo got absolutely right. And he put a thought into my head which continues to resonate with me, even though I watched the video where he said it 4 or 5 days ago. And I wanted to do my own video about it because he's absolutely right. And it was probably the smartest thing that I've heard Russo say for a long time, because he has mainly been producing biased, hateful content where he doesn't want to be objective at all. And I'm not one of these people who want to like everything and who want to support the WWE. And I think that that 70% of what they do is bad. The TV product is very difficult to watch. The storylines are poor. Triple H really seems to have fallen off. And the ticket prices are ridiculous. And we are heading towards a situation where WWE are going to find out very soon that they can't charge those prices anymore. I do believe we're getting to that point, because when fans like me are questioning it, and I can easily afford to go, but it's just a case of principles. I will not spend that amount of money, even if I have it. I will not spend that amount of money on going to WWE. I just won't. It's not a case of it being any kind of novelty to me anymore. I've been to so many shows. There's never that feeling of awe anymore. Like, even when I see, you know, the signature come up and it's WrestleMania and we've got the WrestleMania build, everything will stop hitting the same if you normalize it. And that has become the case with WWE. So with me feeling like that, with me not getting that spine tingling feeling anymore that I would get from going to live events, no matter how big they are, no matter what they put on the card, the justification to spend that money just isn't there when you're looking at other things you could spend it on. I mean, I could travel across Europe and watch a load of football matches, a load of soccer games for that much money. I could go across to the USA, watch NFL for much cheaper. UFC's pricing is unfortunately in line with WWE, and with TKO being involved in boxing, they might ruin that too. But there is no justification for it, and they won't be getting my money in the short term, at least, with the pricing, and especially with their early release pricing, which is ridiculous. And I don't think as many people realize as they should that those prices do go down towards event time, when WWE realize they've overpriced things, but they've already robbed enough people. Those prices do tend to go down the week of the event. So if you are one of these people who are looking at something in your area, wait for as late as you possibly can to invest in a ticket, or just don't go. But yeah, what Russo said, going back to that, Russo said something about how WWE was extremely poor television program compared to other things that you could watch on TV. And he gave an example of a new TV series that he started to watch and how compelling he found it and how he found himself hooked and how much better that was than the WWE. Now, we're used to Russo saying these type of things. He'll find any reason possible to criticize WWE. And this is the problem with Vince, because he said something brilliant. He said something so poignant that it stuck with me for 4 or 5 days. Why would you watch the WWE, especially as a new fan, when there is so much more compelling television on TV? And I didn't even realize that I was doing it myself. Like, I have been taking breaks between Raw and SmackDown. I've been watching it on my Apple TV, and I've been pushing the pause button because I've been scrolling through my phone, or I've been scrolling through Instagram, and I will stop on a reel, short form content that grabs my attention, and I will stop the WWE and I will watch the short form content. The other day, I had my spreadsheets to do for lock betting, and I'd fallen behind about 7 or 8 days, and I needed to catch up with them. And I knew that was going to be about 45 minutes of work. So I wanted to put something on in the background, and I ended up opting for YouTube, even though I had an episode of SmackDown that I needed to watch. For me, it was a chore to put this on. And I know that I could watch interesting, short form, easy to digest content on YouTube, even in the background, as a preference to catching up with WWE. Now, I always catch up with WWE, and it's become just a completist habit of mine. I've never missed a show. I've never missed a show since 1993. Even when I was in Big Brother, I made a conscious effort to keep up with it. But here's the crazy thing. I almost missed a show because I didn't realise I almost missed a show. So I was watching this episode of SmackDown from this week, the disaster episode where Jade Cargill busted up her own face. And the way Netflix works is it will put on the next episode, but obviously it can't go into the future, so it'll play the next one back. And it started playing an episode where Brock Lesnar came out and attacked Corey Graves. And I had not seen this episode. And I had not even thought about watching this episode. I'd watched WrestlePalooza, which was crap, by the way. And I'm going to do a podcast on it over on the Dirty Sheets. And I know it's a bit late, but I know people will still listen to what I have to say. And I completely, genuinely forgot about the Go Home show. And there was nothing in my mind on Saturday telling me I needed to watch the Go Home show. I went out with my buddy Dan in Lincoln on Friday night. We woke up and we put on the game. I think it was between Liverpool and Everton. And none of us, we both watched wrestling, none of us triggered that there was a SmackDown last night and that we had missed it and we needed to catch up with it before WrestlePalooza. We had a plan to get home for WrestlePalooza, which we didn't because we were having a good night out, and we decided that we'll just watch WrestlePalooza in the morning because it's not exactly been compelling television, and it's something that we could easily catch up with in the morning. And boy, was it, because I don't even think we needed to watch it in the morning, to be honest, but we did. But we forgot about this episode of SmackDown, and it almost became the first Raw or SmackDown that I ever missed since 1993. 32 years down the line, I almost missed an episode. And I only watched it because it came on after this week's SmackDown. And I saw Brock attacking Corey Graves. And obviously then I watched the contract signing at the end. I watched it all the way through. And it was almost the one episode of SmackDown that I watched. And you may think, what's the point of all this? But does that not tell you where we're at with this product? That it's so irrelevant, that it's so non-compelling, that I almost missed an episode. And I'm someone who hasn't missed an episode since 1993. And it wasn't through choice. It wasn't me turning around and saying, I'm going to pass on this episode. It's that I was so unengaged by WWE. I was so disinterested. It was so irrelevant to me that it actually left my brain. The thought that I needed to watch WWE on Friday, as somebody who talks about WWE on this YouTube channel, who has a Patreon dedicated to WWE, is surrounded by signed WWE memorabilia, who goes to WWE shows, has been to, at this point, 19 WrestleManias. I sat there and watched the football in the morning, and there was no thought in my head that I'd missed an episode of SmackDown. That tells you, I think, where we're at with this. It is completely and utterly missable. It is completely and utterly non-essential. And in a market which is saturated with quality interesting, short form, easily digestible content, whether it be through a YouTube video. And the one I ended up watching was about how you burn body fat whilst not losing muscle. That's actually what I ended up watching. It was fascinating in terms of how you maintain muscle while specifically trying to lose fat. The answer is keep a high protein intake and lift heavy weights, by the way. I watched that instead of watching the WWE. And in the end, I did force myself to watch SmackDown. I did it on a 10,000 step walk, which I do every day. And it was one of those things that I watched. I either listened to something or I watched something, and I watched SmackDown and did it yesterday. And I'm going to do the same for Raw in a minute, but it's just crazy that that almost happened. And it tells you how bad things are. So that's it for this specific episode. If you want more, thedirtysheets.com for news, all of the latest breaking news, all of the actual news that's accurate. I've broken all of the major stories this year. I have a big story over there about The Undertaker and how he's a bit of a dick, seemingly. So that's over there. I don't want to get into another subject. I know this is a shorter video than usual, but I want to keep it that way to attract people rather than moving on to a different subject. But on my next video, I do want to talk more about the product, specifically about individuals in the WWE. What are we doing with them? How are they being booked? What's going to intrigue me and others to pay these huge ticket prices, specifically when it comes to WrestleMania 42? What's in the works? What's in the future? What potential matches can they actually do to entice people? What storylines can they suddenly light up? I don't think there is many. And I'm going to talk about those options on the next video. So until next time, that's it for me and this edition of the Dirty Sheets, I guess. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.